Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, you find a way to lose. How's everyone doing? Please subscribe to the channel. Anything above that is much appreciated. Boom, let's jump into it. Boxing fans are demanding the truth about Errol Spence's health. Now, I'm not going to come on here to make excuses about Errol Spence losing to Terrence Crawford. I want to make sure that I underscore that I predicted and felt Terrence Crawford was going to win. And I want to make sure that I say this emphatically, that if Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fought 100 times at 130 pounds, 35 pounds, 40 pounds, 47 pounds, 54 pounds, 60, 68, 175, Crawford beats him. The weight division doesn't matter. Errol Spence being healthy, unhealthy, Crawford just has the skill set, the style that would give a guy like Errol Spence, who's aggressive, come forward, volume puncher, pressure fighter, problems. Okay? It's pretty damn simple. So now that that's out the way, look, fans have questions. They want to know. With Errol Spence, right? It's gone so far now to people are saying that he cashed out. Now, I'll do YouTube shorts where I'll kind of play devil's advocate and I'll say, hey man, this is what people are talking about. What do you think? Because I like to have conversations. But man, this is caught on like wildfire. Now, over a month ago, I was questioning Errol Spence and slurred speech and brain damage, and because even I noticed when he was talking that it just seemed more, the way I described it as, it seemed more southern to me. But I did note, I was like, damn, why does he sound like that? But I didn't have any reason to believe that any potential brain damage, you know what I'm saying? You gotta understand. We know he was in an accident. We know what Errol Spence went through is a miracle that he's here. It's a miracle that he's here, man. Anybody out here, acting the shoe size and saying horrible things about him and his car accident, look, at some point we got to stop, draw the line in the sand, and decide that we're going to be mature about it and have a serious conversation. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is, when you look at how he performed against Danny Garcia, you look how he performed in there against Yugas, it's kind of hard. It was hard for me to buy into maybe he's having he had some kind of damage to his brain or something that's showing up because of the way he performed. But what I will say is, after watching this weekend, it's like, okay, the performance in the ring, if he would have performed like that against Danny Garcia, the whole world would have said, whoa, shouldn't be fighting. He hasn't recovered from the car accident. He's not the same. But it's showing up. Maybe it's showing up now. I don't know. Remember, I'm just having a conversation. But what I'll tell you is a lot of boxing fans and boxing community, they've gone on this rat race now, trying to determine whether Errol Spence cashed out. Because they looked at the way he lost to Terrence Crawford and they said, well, hell, he must have known all along that he had no chance. He just came out here to get the biggest payday of his life. And I don't know that. I don't know if I want to buy into that. But there are people even out here now. Let me tell you something. I never questioned Errol Spence's eye injury and why he couldn't take the Pacquiao fight. I never questioned that. Because why would Errol Spence walk away from the Pacquiao fight? You know what I'm saying? So this is what I think people need to hold their horses and not take it to the stupid. Errol Spence would avoid the Pacquiao fight because there was something wrong with him all along. So he faked an eye injury, or if there was some eye injury, he kind of stretched the severity of it. I mean, come on, man. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But these are the questions people are asking now, and that's kind of what happens. You see, when you have individuals where they can't make sense of something or they don't have the answer to something, what happens is now they start to overthink things or they start to ask questions because they got this gap. They don't have any data, any information to fill that. So they start filling it with the what ifs and I think, and maybe it could be assumptions. But as a result, they really feel going forward that Errol Spence had and has no intentions on having a rematch with Terrence Crawford because they feel that Errol Spence has known and people around him have known that he's never been fully recovered after that crash, meaning Errol Spence is operating at 20% of what he was before the car accident. Now, Spence suffered I know, I'm talking about like violent injuries from the car crash. Now, remember, there was 2 car crashes, all right? Now, there wasn't much said about that second car crash. See, people are forgetting. Errol Spence was in 2 car accidents, all right? He's been off all this time, man. Just for a detached retina, or just because he and Crawford couldn't come to an agreement. So what you see happening, people are asking questions. They're like, hey, Errol Spence has been out the ring 15 plus months because his ass just came out of a vicious car accident before Danny Garcia. Then he got into another horrible car accident. And he had to take that time off. It was bigger than the detached retina. His body hadn't fully recovered from the first car accident. Then he had another second car accident, which was downplayed. It just further exacerbated his previous condition. And now he comes off of 15 months of inactivity, 2 car accidents. His body's not right. And that's what we saw in the ring. And that's what he knew, Al Heyman knew, doctors knew, his immediate family, circle of friends around him, everyone knew that. But he's cashing out because he and his team and everyone else knows there's no future for Errol Spence. He has the name. Let's make the biggest fight at welterweight. I mean, look, it was a 21 million live gate. He and Terrence Crawford going to make some dough, man. These guys about to make some real money. So let's do it now before we miss the opportunity. And more signs of those ailments that he endured, more signs of that starts to show up. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think Errol Spence has earned the scrutiny that he's receiving. Some people aren't going to agree with me on that, but I think he's earned the scrutiny. And I think half of the scrutiny are just frustrating fans trying to find a reason to downplay Crawford's victory. But I think the other half is fans who are generally concerned and want to know, like, damn. Because let me tell you something. Half of the people who are talking about Errol Spence and him not looking right, half of those people were picking Bud to win the fight. Half of them wanted Bud to win. But even they said, damn, that win wasn't supposed to be like that. What's really going on with Errol Spence? So I just want to make sure y'all understand that. It's not all Errol Spence fans concerned about him. It's Bud Crawford fans concerned about him too. Now the whole thing with the eye, now there's a concern, and there's some articles being written about his eye and about him not being able to see Terrence Crawford's punches. So some people feel that Errol Spence's vision, like his body, wasn't 100%. Some people even feeling that Errol Spence's vision will probably be impaired, and he won't be able to see correctly the rest of his life. And he got in the ring in that condition. And they're saying that's why when he stood there, when they were announcing their names, he had that glossy look over his eyes and that blank look on his face, or the look where some people saying he looked high. Because he did have bags under his eyes, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I need an answer on why the hell he had bags under his eyes. Because I've been watching boxing a long time, man, and I don't quite understand. I'm not worried about what anybody says about Errol Spence, but even I was like, damn, why do you got bags under his eyes? And when they were interviewing before he even came in the ring, why is he talking like that? We know he's super laid back. You got to check his pulse, but I'm just saying, man. I understand why people are so inquisitive about Errol Spence and his health. Now, as far as the eyes, man, I don't know. But I'll tell you what. Him going into a rematch with Terrence Crawford, let me tell you, I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't have a crystal ball, right? We don't know. But it does make me say, right, if he was at 100% going into the Terrence Crawford fight, which is what I'm going to assume, right? There's a whole lot of weird stuff about Errol Spence. I got to be honest. But bottom line, I got to see him as a man who was 100%. I don't think if he was 100% fighting Crawford and he got beat like that, there's no in the world after getting beat like that, you will come back and be in the fight 100%. When you get beat like that, it takes a pound of flesh out you. You ain't never the same, man. When you get hit like that and shook up like that and knocked out like that, look, he got he got stopped. He got knocked out. And Terrence Crawford was probably just one, I would say, a straight left, right hook away from permanently tranquilizing Errol Spence. Because you watch when Terrence Crawford was fighting, most of the time he was countering with his right hand first, bringing the left after, then cleaning up with it. So he was starting and finishing, and most of his counters and punt and combinations with his lead hand, the right hand, which is his dominant hand. That's why he was hurting Errol Spence like that. He stayed on that front foot with that right hand, his power hand, in front the whole night. And that's why whenever he hit Errol Spence, when he hit him with the left, he hurt him. But you watch is when the right hand came. That's the shot that was, rattling Errol Spence's cage. But bottom line, man, maybe Crawford was deliberately targeting the eye. We know he was deliberately going after that body, and we know he was remaining patient and countering Errol Spence. But going forward, I don't think anybody should be taking anything away from Terrence Crawford. But for Errol Spence, we need answers, man. You look at how he comes out here, and Errol Spence has been doing interviews since his car accident, and he's been pretty convincing about how he's 100%, he's healthy, he's better than before, even after the eye injury. He had 2 anchors or something put in the eye. The eye is stronger than before. Only thing he really talked about that let us know, like, he's not 100% about is the fact that he lost teeth and has to wear partials because he's concerned about his mouthpiece. That's the only thing that he talked about that I took from him. Said that's the one thing about the car accident that he ain't really fully recovered from, like that messes with him. But everything else he sounded, 100%. Okay? But we'll see what materializes with these guys. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about retina tears. I know that I was playing basketball back in the day, man, and I was going up for a rebound. The guy had jumped before me. So when he was coming down, I was going up. And when I was going up, his elbow hit me in my eye. And I just started seeing black spots, And and immediately I had double vision. And I remember I went to the bathroom, and I was like, yo, what the hell's wrong with me? And I blew my nose because it felt like my nose was running. When I blew my nose, like it's like a cartoon. You blow your nose and the eye swells up, like the air settled underneath the bottom eyelid. I ended up going to the doctor because I freaked out. Like, yo, I blow my nose and air settles underneath my damn eyelid. So what it is, I had a sinus fracture. So, when you understand the nose and the eyes and sinus and how all that's connected, well, that air actually from breathing and everything, the air travels through certain, I'm just going to describe it as like little canals. And anyway, the air settles there. That's why they tell you if you have like a nose injury, eye injury, whatever, you don't want to blow your nose. But what I'm getting at is, I know when I had that injury and I went to the doctor and I was told, kind of take it easy, and when it comes to sports and stuff, anything where there could be additional contact. It was no sparring for me. I didn't play basketball. Not even 21 and stuff. I was just take it easy because I didn't want any more problems, and that doctor told me that. But to think about a guy like Errol Spence and having a detached retina, I just don't know. Some people say he come back and like nothing happened. But Errol Spence went out there and said, look, he came back and, after he got his eye injured and sparred more rounds. And then he sparred again. I remember him saying that in the interview. And that's not good. So he was basically, if you listen to the story about Errol Spence, he was basically, man, sparring with a detached retina unknowingly. And you look at his whole story about him coming back after the car accident and pushing himself. Remember, he was doing things they advised him not to do. All right? Those aren't my words. Those are Errol Spence's words. Barely getting up the stairs and all kind of shit, about to fall, and everyone's freaking out because he's just headstrong and like, no, he couldn't even walk. Y'all remember he couldn't even walk. So he was doing things on his own, which is commendable, but it was stupid. Doctors told you don't do certain things, but he went at his own pace, pushed himself, and was back in the gym, sparring and doing things. And I don't care what Derrick James says. I truly believe when Errol Spence came in that gym and wanted to hit a pad or wanted to do something, Derrick James was letting him do it. He wanted to go and spar. I believe Derrick James was letting him probably spar when he probably shouldn't have been sparring. I'm not saying he was in there doing anything hard, but I just think he had him doing things. Maybe he thought it was in the best interest of Errol Spence's, of his mental health. It's like, hey, okay, I still got it, or there's still a potential for me to return to boxing. And remember, I'm just having a conversation. I don't know this for a fact. I do believe that. But long story short, those things probably should have never happened. At least what we do know for a fact is Errol Spence saying how he pushed himself on the road to recovery and to get back on his feet and back into boxing, even doing things against the doctor's orders. And I just think when you think about that, he probably really, when it comes to his health, he probably never really achieved that 100%. And what I mean by 100% is not him before the car accident. I mean his post-car accident 100%, which is probably 70% of 60% of what he was before the car accident. Okay? But we're going to see what's going on when it comes to Errol Spence, the injuries, when it comes to his health. People want to answer. They want to know. And let me tell you something. Somebody posted something on a video that I did, right? And they said that it's documented proof that some people were very concerned before the fight. And when I read those things, I take it with a grain of salt, Because I'm like, where you get that information? That's my question. Because if somebody tells me there's documented proof that there were concerns about Errol Spence before the fight. I'm like, okay, cool. I believe that there may have been some documented proof somewhere that there was some concerns about Errol Spence, which I think anybody would be concerned about him going to a fight with a killer like Terrence Crawford. But you can't make me believe that there's some kind of documented proof out there that when it comes to Errol Spence, that the documented proof about the concerns are that people know he's not 100%, that he shouldn't be fighting, and it's just like, hey, let's go ahead and fight, make all this money. Terrence Crawford wins the belts, and Terrence Crawford has more years left on him to be active and keep dominating. Errol Spence doesn't. He's on the decline. And so because the way they broke it down, I'm trying to find it while I talk to you, right? It actually kind of blew my mind the way they broke it down. I'm trying to find it while I talk to you. Matter of fact, if I find it, I'll pull it up and show you what they said. Because I was like, yo, the person who wrote that, the way they pieced it together was kind of wild. I think you guys would enjoy reading it. Let me see if I can find it while I'm talking to you, man. Very, very interesting the way the guy broke it down. Essentially what he was saying, I can't find it, man. Let me see while I'm talking. I'm still going to keep talking to you. I'm going to see if I can find it, man. Essentially what he was saying is that Errol Spence, that it was agreed, right, for, let me see if this is it. No, that's not it. But let me just break it down to you what was said essentially. What the person said was, after Errol Spence's car accident, they said Danny Garcia took it easy on Errol Spence. They said you could see in that fight, and Danny Garcia, if he wanted to, he could have stopped Errol Spence. He could have knocked Errol Spence out, but there was an agreement for Danny Garcia to throw the fight and let Errol Spence win. They said going into the Ugas fight, again, Ugas was paid off. There was an agreement to let Errol Spence win because if you look at the fight, some things didn't make sense as far as Ugas not letting his hands go and even having Errol Spence hurt and not following up. Secret societies at work. Long story short, those two fights, Garcia, Ugas, they were all fights set up for Danny Garcia to take a loss and for Danny Garcia to go up, fight at 154, then get this weird catchweight fight for a title which he's going to win against Erislandy Lara. All organized and arranged that way. It was arranged for Ugas to come now and fight Spence and lose, then for Ugas to get paid more money than he's ever made and life-changing money than for him to go now and get another opportunity and fight a guy like Keith Thurman, which Ugas will beat. So basically saying the Secret Society arranged for Danny Garcia to lose to Spence so he can go on and get another title in another division at a weird catchweight. Then for Ugas to lose to Spence, but then come back and beat Keith Thurman and end up in position to probably fight for a vacant title because more than likely Spence and Crawford are going to drop the titles. And all of that, when you put it together, was for Spence to win against Garcia, Spence to win against Ugas, and then for Spence and Crawford to fight because that was the big money fight. They couldn't have Danny Garcia and Ugas messing up the plans. Now that Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fought, they knew Errol Spence would lose. Now Errol Spence can retire, and Terrence Crawford has more years left on him because he's healthy, he's active, and Errol Spence will go out there and make money for PBC. Now, the way he broke it down, if I didn't know boxing, I would be saying, wow, makes sense. But because I know boxing, I say, sounds good, I think we're taking it to the stupid on that one. But that being said, we need to know what's really going on with Errol Spence. We really need to know what's going on with his health. I haven't seen anything yet. They had this doctor come out there, although he's not a neurologist. He talked a lot about some things he saw with Spence, his experience with neurology and dealing with people with some of the symptoms that he felt Spence had, right? And he said a whole lot. I haven't seen Spence come out and say the doctor's lying. I haven't heard anybody come out there and challenge him. Let me tell you something. This is an opportunity for Errol Spence, for Al Heyman to finally really show his face, for his team to come out and challenge this guy and to hold this guy's feet to the fire. Because what that guy said has created a damn crap storm. And now people really want to know the truth about Errol Spence's health. They feel like there's more to it, and they don't like that. Now, if you ask me, I'm going to say this. It did look a little bit fishy. And what I mean by that is, like, I just never seen Errol Spence look like that. But I've said before, it's because he was in it with Terrence Crawford. That bazooka jab, the first round, Errol Spence looked normal. The second round, he looked normal till he got knocked down. The third round, he came out, looked normal. Actually, he was even more aggressive and going hard. But he was getting touched up and hit by Terrence Crawford. That bazooka jab and getting countered. Remember, most of the time when he was getting countered, it was that right hand, his power hand, then the left, and getting cleaned up with the right again. All right? And this was happening over and over again. And then he was gun shy. He was flinching. He was afraid because he was getting hit with shots he didn't see. It was the angles Crawford was using, and he was throwing tight, powerful shots. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, when Errol Spence started to unravel and look a little crazy, it's because of the accumulation of counters and hard shots he was taking. And to be honest with you, when he fell and looked a little bit funky, he looked funky when Ugas clipped him in I don't know what round that was, like the 7th, 8th round. Well, he clipped Errol Spence and had Errol Spence looking a little bit funky in the ring. There were several times through that fight where Ugas hit Errol Spence and Errol Spence buckled. You know, you go back and watch that fight. I'm not making that up. He hurt Errol Spence several times through that fight. I've done videos about Errol Spence getting hurt in fights. And people that come out there, you know how remember the Spence and Crawford fans are like the Bloods and Crips. You know, somebody tried to bang on me because I said Errol Spence is a little chinny. But long story short, we need to hear more about Errol Spence and his health. Fans want to know, and my ears are perked up. I'd be interested to know if there's something more going on with something more was going on with Errol Spence, and if people knew about it, and if they did, if they swept things under the rug. I'd like to know, because I tell you what, I think if fans find out that this was all a kind of arranged to go down this way, people are going to be pissed off, man. But Errol Spence doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. But then again, like I said, take it with a grain of salt, man. I don't know him. I don't know Al Heyman. I don't know Espinoza. I don't know any of these people. I don't know anybody who posts. Only have one person who I talk to regularly. Out of all these, now I have over 3,100 going, almost at 3,200 subscribers. I got one person, man, we talk regularly. I'm talking about on the phone. We've become pretty cool. Other than that, I don't know anybody. So I can't say if someone's a good person or not. But from what I see, I don't think Errol Spence is that kind of person. But then again, like I said, I don't know. But that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans on 7 continents. Boxing fans demand the truth. This man been injured the whole time. First car accident, retina. Second car accident. You know, talking about how the vehicle was reinforced with steel, bulletproof, all kind of shit they said about that car. They made sure when the story came out about his injury in the car accident, they made sure to downplay that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's nothing like the one that he went through with that Ferrari. But they downplayed that second car accident. Makes you wonder if Errol Spence had ever fully recovered from that first car accident, fully recovered from the eye trouble, and if he fully recovered from that second car accident, and if he was fully recovered and his health was 100% when he went into that fight with Terrence Crawford. More to come. Stay tuned. In the breeze.